Hello people, welcome back to Aurora IAS channel on Ethics, Integrity, Aptitude lecture series. So today we'll continue the chapter 1, the lessons from the lives of and teachings of great leaders, reformers and administrators. So before going into the discussion, the PDF would firstly deliver the importance or the difference between the leader, reformer and administrator. Leader is having a conceptual skills, decisiveness, envisages a mission, develops a strategy and changing culture. In fact, like something like a project leader or a team leader. And now administrator is responsible to carry out a process by working hard to accomplish these goals. So that is an administrator. And who is a reformer? He wants to improve the prevailing conditions in the society by bringing out the reforms in any of the areas of the human activity. So this is a major difference between leader, reformer, administrator for your understanding. So there are some very shared common values, like values that have been adhering to the toughest times, attitude to serve the people, lift the downtrodden people, having impartiality and integrity towards the workplace, having benevolence nature as well as having compassion. These are hallmarks of your personality and character, like some common values. Like suppose there is a leader. For an example, any of the majority leader of today's times, any political leader of your locality or the state or throughout the central level, consider him. And there will be an administrator in your local area, like the municipal commissioner or the deputy collector or the deputy superintendent of police. And there will be a reformer in your society who will always strive for a change. So these three people would have some very important common values. A politician, the administrator and a reformer will always have something like to uplift these downtrodden people. The politician does it through the schemes and manifestos, the administrator through the implementation of the schemes, and the reformer through the changed attitudinal and behavioral changes. So these are the common values. From the leaders like Gandhi ji, Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, then Mother Teresa and many other leaders, we can have some lessons like some moral lessons finally from their lifestyle, their life we have seen through the books, through the teachings, for the documentaries and many other readings and hearings through the YouTube videos and various other forms, right? So what have we learned from them is love for justice, selflessness, respect for humanity, dignity, loving, benevolent nature, compassion and peace loving. So these are the very common values I am emphasizing from the leader's perspective. From the administrative perspective, like E. Sridharan, the Metro Man, Swaminathan, Verghese Kurien, then Sam Pitroda, VP Menon, all these people have some different kinds of human values because the area of working under a different genre, right? Although everybody is working for a good societal order, but the area actually they're working under is totally different. So these administrators have a kind of non-discrimination, discipline, citizenly duty, equality, lawfulness, loyalty, courage, solidarity and respect. These are some of the common values. These are the common values in the administrators. So now reformers like have very common values that we can learn from their lessons of their life, like Kabir, Guru Nanak Dev, then Raja Ram Mohan Rai ji, Swami Vivekanand. So what are these aspects? Dignity for all, humanism, respect for humanity, reason, inquiry, seeking truth, kindness, contentment and social equality. I presume that all of us have a sense of at least a basic level of understanding what dignity is, humanism is, humanity is, kindness, compassion. So I'm not going into the very intricate details of it. I presume that you have an idea. Thus, here the importance of this lecture is to understand the various reformers, the various leaders, the various administrators and what kind of lessons of their life we can learn and what principles and values are even relevant today. So to begin with, we begin with the very auspicious and Ashoka ji, who is high in morals and principles and having high ideals in life. So he has always held ideals to lead one's higher level of living, to spread the peace and prosperity. Buddhism has been spread only because of him, that he in those times that he had sent his daughter and son to other in Southeast Asian nations as well. So those rock edicts he has given, it gives an inspiration as to how we should lead a life, the kind of respect you have to give to your elders, parents, how to look after your parents in their old age. So all these kinds of basic values through his rock edicts he is giving, and he's also giving the nature of the duty towards your occupation, like devotion, commitment through his rock edicts. So these are even relevant today. These are now being implemented through the code of ethics and code of conduct. So the relevance of all these principles in today's times should be interlinked simultaneously. Whenever I am reading out a line from this slide, or whenever I am telling you value from his life, so right away link it to the present value principle, because there is no way out to again discuss, will become redundant in fact to discuss the same thing again and again. So I urge you to people to listen to each one of these lines and right away interlink it to the present times value systems. Okay, the relevance, in fact the relevance of the present value systems from the lessons of the life of Ashoka. So the next comes with reverence of life, tolerance, compassion, peaceful coexistence, and there are some cornerstones for his administrative skills, that king should be always courageous, take up the subjects that like constructing roads, hospitals, rest houses. That is what the administration of nowadays times are doing it, like be it a panchayat secretary, be it a village revenue officer, mandal revenue officer, to the level of municipal commissioner or the deputy collector or deputy superintendent of police. All of them have are courageous as well as they're taking the subjects, right? So the advent of democratic system, subjects are replaced by the citizens, because our constitution itself says that it derives the power from the people. The same thing Ashoka has been saying. The equity and welfare are the very two important pillars of good governance. That is where the e-governance is catering only to satisfy the welfare of the citizen with a public service delivery to attain the equity. So they also guide one's paths to truth and veracity with morality, integrity and impartiality that helps in generating empathy and compassion in one life. That is why he has dismantled the war kind of a theory towards establishing the compassion towards the humanity in the Kalinga War, right? So this is what you can learn from his life. Very brief, there are many other aspects actually you can learn it, but if we start emphasizing on one reformer, leader or administrator so much, then this PDF would just go into pages and pages. Whatever is relevant for an answer of 150 or 250 words, that would be ensured through this PDF or this lecture series. I want you to add some 2-3 points from your side also if you want it, and keep it and preserve it for your examination time. So next leader I would say is Swami Vivekananda. He is of humanity, humility and spiritual integrity, a man who completely believes in Vedantas and Upanishads. His thoughts of ideas are based on rationalism, meditation and devotion to the God. He also says that all religions always lead to one common end of goal, to attain salvation, better peace in your life through your deeds. Understand the misery and suffering of the common people. Through this saying, he says that the only God whom he believes is the sum of all the souls. So that is where the religion today, in today's time, relevance is that consider every religion equal. The same proponents of your religion are there in the other religions too. So try to respect it. When you see this, when you take this barricade between different religions, then the common peace and brotherhood and tolerance would prevail. So Swami Vivekananda also says that salvation comes by serving God in man, and he criticized India being very isolated and stagnant. He wants India to be interactive to the Western culture, adopt some ideas from that, manifest them with compassion and empathy, universal brotherhood. Generosity is always there in his sayings. He says that motion is a sign of the life, so keep moving, don't be stagnant, change your attitude, change your behavioral style, change your cultures to accommodate the ever changing modern society. That is what his life is a best example for the younger generations. Though he comes in the age of the times of 1800s, still he has the modernity of thoughts. That is what today's youngster needs. So next personality is Rabindranath Tagore, who has respect for all the religions. He had universal brotherhood, fraternity, responsible citizenship, then moral character. He promoted the concept of Vishwa Bharati, where he says that West and East together through the education an attempt is made to purification of the society. His stirring words during the times of the partition of Bengal, he had this sense, although he was not a political leader, but he was actively involved and he was vocal in making his ideas and thoughts and poems at that bright point of a time when the country was going into a turmoil. It has a great impact in unifying the people of the Bengal as well as the other parts of the country. He had a craving for the social reforms. He wanted the Swadeshi and integrity of the country. So this is what in today's times also the unity has to play a very important role, because we are a diverse culture, we are accommodating many other people. The issue of Rohingyas today also forms a very important, when we can take some aspects of Rabindranath Tagore. He says that universal brotherhood, didn't want it. He and Swami Vivekananda ji didn't want the barricade of borders. So this is very important. Even the US trying to build a Mexico wall border, at that aspect also you can include these kind of thoughts. Rabindranath Tagore ji always said something about religion and love. He says that he had a feel of God in all things and all actions. He says that love is the base for all religions. It's not the basic proponents that my religion would allow me to eat beef, it won't allow me to eat beef. It's way beyond that. Have love and devotion towards your religion. That is what he is wanting. He said that as I look back on the stretch of the past years, he says, I shall not commit the sin of losing faith. He wanted to emphasize that losing faith is the greatest sin. Have faith, move ahead in life. With advocacy to universalism and internationalism, love for humanity, he says universal brotherhood again and again, for abiding the value of posterity. The ideal of universal man is important. That is what he says. Now let's go into the Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Though he is very religious man, as what we think and what we see through his attire or his books and all the kind of institutions he's associated with, but he's way beyond that, guys. See, through this non-violence modified, what he says is, on the basis of Manusmriti, he says that rishis trained people, authorities in Vedas. The same way today also the system is based on Upanishads and Manusmriti. He doesn't say it that Hinduism is the basic tenet of every religion. He says that use those concepts in today's time. He also says that penalties to the criminals were sanctioned through these concepts. He gave the importance to the forgiveness by pardoning the person, like who administered him fatal poison on the instance of a prostitute. So that is where he even forgave that person who has given him the poison. Then he is a realist. He says that no society or polity can be erected with absolute adherence to the creed of ahimsa. Then this divine law. According to the divine law, he says that his personal life as a sannyasi, he regarded God as a absolute main important pulling force, the source of power. He says that the true king and his humble servants is a system of a governance, a divine law. We are all servants to the king. Who is the true king? The God. So let us understand that we are the subjects of the Lord of the universal king, the king of the kings. So he wanted to loosen out the differentiation that there are Kshatriyas, Brahmanas and all these kinds of sects. He also emphasized something on the Vedic universalism through his Arya Samaj. He says through this Arya Samaj that you have to spread the knowledge in the Vedas, send missionaries and establish missions all over the parts of the world, bring out the truth and untruth, give protection and true education to the orphans. So you see, these values, even charity or the altruistic principles, are nowadays important tenets of having a philosophical nature of living. Then we go to the Sir Aurobindo Ghosh, yet a very extremist kind of a person, but there are some ideas that we can always take it from him. See, the idea of giving you all these reformers, administrative thinkers and leaders is that always we tend to write based on very 2 or 3 regular personalities like Mahatma Gandhi ji or for say Swami Vivekananda ji. But these kind of people, when you incorporate into your answers also, it gives variance to your answers and it will break the monotony of the person who is checking your answer scripts also, because there will be 10 or 20 people in your room ahead of you will be writing the same redundant matter. Even when you try to incorporate some different thinkers, will always fetch you an extra mark. So let's go into the Sir Aurobindo Ghosh. He says that he is an advocate of the Purna Swaraj. He says that he did not fall in the line who treated political slogan or mere intellectual idea of Purna Swaraj. He says that what Swaraj is to him is a passion and nationalism to him. He is undoubtedly the very the towering architects of the Indian nation. He participated, he brilliantly mentored people, and he had an imprint on the, especially the youth of that period of time, were very enthusiastic. They wanted a channelized thoughts and mentoringship, which was provided by Aurobindo Ghosh. He also said that world culture and worshipper of universalism by perfect blend of national and universal thoughts. So his contribution to the mankind was very unique through his approach. He was humanist in his approach. He didn't believe in the God and all these pseudo features or the other people who said that religion and all that. He just believed in the humanistic approach where the man is a central to his idea. Then his views on capitalism and socialism, he says that modern capitalism he was really critical of. He always spoke just like Dadabhai Naoroji had said about the imperialistic drain of Indian financial resources. He also viewed the capitalism as a draining, British rule as draining of the Indian financial resources. He was against the centralization and concentration of the wealth. He always said that bureaucracy is in nowadays it's not giving should not get the importance in a way that it is becoming a new Brahmanical order. Let it be a different kind of a setup for the political administration. He also said that the social objective of equal opportunity and guaranteeing of social and economic minimum was important for an organized social life. And in case of the spiritual freedom, he always said that we must first ourselves be free in our heart before the country to be free. So you have to have the ideals of freedom and spirituality inside you before the country has to be free. So the actual change should begin with you, not just every time Gandhiji's words that be the change you want to see in others. You can also use this Sir Aurobindo Ghosh word that we must first ourselves be free in our heart before our country is free. Such a beautiful line, right? So this is all he wanted to say about the spiritual freedom. This extra write-up which I'm not dealing in the lecture series, it's because the PDF already has content over it and it will become redundant, and every time repeating the same sentence would not be better for a listener like you. So it is better that we do it through the PDF later when we make some notes or jot it down in the point format, whichever form you like it, but which are the very crucial important aspects only I'm dealing through these sessions. Okay, so the next is that Tilak is like, we always know him by the Arya Samaj, then several acts like Shraddha Act, Arya Marriage Act, but he was a very opposed to the social and political issues mixing up. He says that both of them are different issues, don't mix it up, and today's politics are mixing it up, so there is relevance of Tilak's ideology to be followed today. Then he says that he refused to be misled by the reformers, that it is reformers and political progress are not in an opposite way. They go simultaneously but in a separate form. That is what he says. He did not like the alien rulers, and he always wanted professing the values of different civilization through our own legislatures and judges is what he emphasized on. Well, the other next important personality is Dadabhai Naoroji. He stood for the basic liberties of the men. He said that as a British, when they have some fundamental freedoms as their people enjoy it, the same way Indian subjects are also entitled to enjoy such fundamental freedoms. That is brilliant put up, right? He says that when a colonial power is ruling you, when the people of their colonial administration are enjoying such kind of tremendous freedoms, why not India when you're ruling other country? The same principles have to be. So the kind of integrity and probity in governance is where this Dadabhai Naoroji principles, lessons of the life can be utilized too. Then Jawaharlal Nehru ji, he is a perfect blend of Eastern and Western man thinking. He always wanted the technological development. Today's dams and all the educational institutions like the IIT Roorkee and varied other institutional development has taken place because of this man's blend of Eastern and Western thinking values of rational and technological development with social structures and all-round development. He was very soft-hearted poet and writer as well. a very great administrator of times. Social justice, equality, fraternity were very important principles that can be seen through his social and economic principles. He was the architect of the Indian's foreign policy. He also coined the term of NAM. He started an organization, although lost its relevance and today's time, but the principles it tried to imbibe, like determination, courage to stand in tough situations, are still valid. So that is why he wanted to have a multifarious avenues for developments of one's personality. This is what we will learn from Nehru ji. There comes the Sardar Patel ji, the person with the statue for unity. So that is where he says being honest is the greatest quality. He was a great man of this order, because unifying the princely states and all the disintegration that was taking place at that point of time, he integrated it to today's map of India. So he was a true follower of Gandhiji. He always said that principle of non-possession. When he expired during his time of death, there was no personal house anywhere in India. That shows the exemplary quality of an administrator as well as a great leader of the country, right? Next comes Mother Teresa, the mother of altruism, the mother of volunteerism, the mother of compassion and benevolence. What not can we say that? Although there were theories which questioned on her faith and the kind of service she was doing, but trust me guys, the kind of service she has done to a leprosy patient is unquestionable. You cannot question a person who has put her hands in front of the leprosy patient when he vomited. Can you do it? Can I do it? Is a question which everybody has to ask. It is only people who have this intricate value, strong, very core belief of the values towards benevolence and compassion towards the other weaker sections of the society, only these people can do it. So let's quickly see what Mother Teresa has to say. She says that devotion of greater cause, although she had put herself into a lot of hardships, but she would come out as a fighter. Love for humanity, and then a strong personal foundation. She says that personal foundation is like solid foundation, like strong faith. When you have inner faith so strong, then you can do wonders. She also says that in this life we cannot do great things, but we can do only small things with great love. That is phenomenal. So she always says that live your life on your values. Conditions will not deter one from his or personal goals or mission. And she always says that inner core values should act as an anchor. So that is where, and lastly, the mental peace from where she attains these enduring qualities is that keep smiling, keep loving. Harshest of the challenges, mindset should be stable and paved for the stronger commitment towards the facing of the problems. Then comes the Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King always says that always be civil in times of darkness, violence and ugliness. He says that civil discourse is important thing. Like how to be having a civil discourse? Never get angry, never get inflamed, never get provoked by people. Don't hate, and hostile environment is not good. Have peace and non-violence. Have compassion and empathy. Always help others. Have the philosophy to do the right thing and being a good person. He always said that. Have true compassion. Examine as how we as society are changing to the conditions, and let them there be at the first place, society at the first place, as well as making people better to live is through your works and deeds. He says that never give up on your dreams. So as aspirants also, you should never give up the dreams, howsoever the ups and downs in your life in the preparation mode comes through. And then he says that obstacles could never imagine having faced. He has faced the most number of obstacles as a champion of anti-apartheid movement. So he had come out as a fighter, so all of us can through any times of turmoil. Then the person, the most humble and most courageous, yet very humble and down-to-earth person, Nelson Mandela ji, has won the Nobel Prize, has won many museums, many awards, but nothing had made him get into his head. It's only because of his humbleness. You have to have the courage to speak fearlessly. Like AIDS, on the AIDS concept which killed his son, he boldly spoke that it is a curse of Africa. Get out of this AIDS. So that is what he said. You have to be patient. 27 years of prison life, that shows the level of patience. And today youth and administrators, everybody is lacking patience. On the verge of any kind of an angry, heated argument, you leave your services, you resign to the services. That is not the order, because it is only through the system that a change can be brought if you want, because we have the volunteers by activism outside the system who is working for the benevolent or a compassionate nature of bringing a change in the society. Through the system also changes have to be made through the executive or the legislative. So people have to be in the legislation, this implementing mode of conduct into the working environment. And then we have this positive influence. Mandela ji has been the most positive person ever, because he always he wrote lots of books to spread the knowledge and insights he always had. He always had some vocal point on how to deal with some situations. He spoke about every other country's independence struggle. That shows his positive influence. E. Sridharan ji, the Metro Man. So the first and basic thing, deadlines motivate you than pressurizing you. This person says that. He says work with honesty, others will obviously cooperate with you. He said believe in yourself, believe the impossible. Awards and accolades will not affect you. Don't deter oneself from criticism. Take it so positively that you have to bring the change within you. Punctuality, being passionate, utilizing the resources, less resources, yet very good. Because see, the Metro Man has tremendously has done very phenomenal work in the metro work. One is that having the political non-interference, and second is the land acquisition is the greatest hurdles for any metro project being laid in any city, no matter what, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, anywhere. But this thing has been overcome only because of this man who had rest all whatever it is. He worked with honesty and cooperation came in from the government, no interference, and he with deadline he got the motivation and he finished such a successful task. So that is where he is a change agent. So he's had this selflessness. Then comes our Swaminathan, the agricultural, what do you say, the agriculture father of the Indian agriculture. In fact, he says that he credits whatever achievements he had achieved till now to his father and Mahatma Gandhi, who said that through the childhood and independence struggle, both have been very inspiring. He said that medical knowledge should be taken to the people, and once we apply through the education, the medical knowledge, social mobilization can happen, and it happened. He had been phenomenal in a work where parasitic diseases like filariasis has been eliminated overall in the entire town. So he has seen this power, that power of the people power. So trusting the local community will find the solutions, because they are having these problems. Where the problem lies, the solution or innovation comes to the minds, because analyzing those problems, only the solutions come. So here he says that trusting the local community. And then he says the philosophy of self-reliance and Swadeshi. That is why even now he follows the concept of wearing the homespun cotton rather than imported textiles. How many of us actually think the brand value, the utility function or the value expressive function of your attitude actually dominates more among us? We want brands from all over the world, but we are actually neglecting the homespun cotton. So this is where also another value of present times can be derived from. He also says that there are no winners or losers in the Sarvodaya society. He says that Sarvodaya is welfare of the weakest, so he believes in it, and that's he fights for the rights and schemes implementation or the innovations led to the agriculture of farmers. He also says that pro-poor, pro-nature and pro-women approach is what developmental efforts have to be taken through his Chennai Foundation. Then comes our very own Vice President Radhakrishnan ji on religion. He has to say that nature of reality and experience of reality is what he says. Mystical forces will be there, pseudo forces will be there. What he says that reality, unless you experience that power, unless you experience the spirituality, nothing is religion. He says that self-manifestation of ultimate reality in man. He is also humanistic in approach. He says that humanity is what religion is all about. So he is like doing justice, loving mercy, and making other people feel happy around you is the end goal of knowledge of God. Then universal religion. According to the universal religion, he says that the foundation is that reason and humanity is the basic tenet. Then we have his views on ethics. He says that ethics is that significance of social value being moral is for a harmonious unity of the society. To enrich your life, to have a better outcome of your recognition is only through having a moral and ethical life. Sorry, I just missed on this. Okay, so I think yes. So the next he says that morality is a current brand of social custom. He says we should not deviate from being immoral. Intuition inside you has place in ethics. You have to have majority of moral decisions based on the moral codes of conduct. Then on education, he was phenomenal person in educational sphere because he had the instrument. He defines education to be instrument of social, economic and cultural change. So we have to utilize the productivity of mankind through the education. He also says that classless society is only established by equality of man and man, where education plays an important role. In today's times also, the Right to Education Act not being implemented well or not being taken seriously, his values from lessons of his life can be derived and put up an answer in the case studies or in any other philosophical based essays or answers in the ethics paper 4. Then we have Aruna Roy. She is another person who have been doing great wonders for the agriculturists or the downtrodden society, where she has kept her Magsaysay Award money inside a trust, and she's using this for a democratic struggles. That is what important word, democratic struggles in favor of the working class movement. She says that our money, our records are a very important chanting by the villagers of the MKSS foundation, which has led to these various legislations like the Narega and Food Security Act. She has been instrumental in bringing some pro-people legislations into these schemes. Then we have the election man, or the actual man towards this festivity of democracy that we are celebrating today is T.N. Seshan. He was strong in his character by implementing the law despite his lot of interferences by the politicians. He was very stubborn. He accepted the challenge and bring about an improvement. What happened? There was an example from his life that he was supervising 4,000 employees and 3,000 buses. So when there was a strike going on, he was on spot. He personally drove down a bus out of the strike situation so that public service delivery values will not be compromised. So this shows what T.N. Seshan is all about. He was not only officer but handled many other things emotionally as well as. He had 3 prime duties at that point of time: autonomy, integrity of election commission, as well as empowerment of the voters through the voter ID cards. The procedures have been laid out properly. He has actually brought the reforms. In fact, he is an administrator as well as a reformer. He has also been through this restrictions phase that's leading to his resignation, but he ensured that until the election phenomena is totally reformed, until then he didn't resign. That is what he wanted, a modern Indian life that needs cleaning up. So he has cleaned the total election field through his reforms. Now comes the O.P. Chowdhury. O.P. Chowdhury, hate him or love him or whatever it is, because we have mixed opinions about him. But his works through his organizations are showing the voice or the intensity. So he has this, through this MOHRD, he has established a residential campuses for out of school children. No community school has to be closed. He emphasized on the assessment of panchayats to help these locals not shut these kind of schools, because these are the important schools in the extremist and conflict areas, which will enhance the education of the children. Then we have the educated and unemployment local school survey. He has been doing it. So the O.P. Chowdhury, hate him or like him, whatever it is, but his voluminous intensity with which the work has been progressing, that shows the man of courage and man of integrity, man of wisdom. Through his works like National Bamboo Mission, he had installed these prefabricated structures when schools have to be built on this material. Then he had also educated an unemployment local boys were employed as volunteers to survey the dropout schools. That is where the concept of inclusive volunteerism has been taken from. No community school must be left in the conflict and extremist driven areas. MOHRD also has sanctioned residential campuses for the out of school children in these areas where he is dealing with. Then we have Chulo Asman program, which is science education to the 11th and 12th standard by realizing the quality of teaching in science. So he had got some few volunteers from the IAS community or the bureaucrat community itself. The qualified and experienced teachers from the district also are selected, and this program is being successfully conducted. So, and another program through his initiatives is Education City, where 97 acres of his township of 100 crores were dedicated for the education facilities. He feels that education is a powerful tool of any change or reform in the society, which will lessen the vicious cycle of poverty, unemployment, or any other case of cycles. The cycles can be brought down, the vicious cycles can be brought down with a tool of empowerment through education. Then he says that skill education is also an important thing. So like Indignant or Tomorrow Foundation, with L&D kind of organizations, cooperation, he is adding value with where people with no basic literacy levels are having PPP models of establishment of the skill education centers. So these are the very few actually, because there are multiple people around you who are doing phenomenal work. For example, I'll tell you from my locality itself, what happened is there were people complaining regarding a sanitation work not being done properly in this area. So this administrator, the municipal commissioner of my area, what she has done, she had given a warning, final warning to a sanitation worker. In spite of that, he was not listening. So what she has done, she had given that 1 month of that sanitation worker's salary towards the developmental works. She has diverted that fund. She has cancelled 1 month salary of the sanitation worker and diverted the funds for the sanitation of that particular locality. So you see, this is the quality what we want. This kind of proactiveness is necessary, because even after giving warning, that person, the sanitary worker who is responsible for the cleanliness of the locality or the streets in a particular locality where the complaint is coming reoccurring various times, so this kind of a proactiveness is needed. So these are not available in anywhere. You have to listen to him, listen to these kind of examples and note it down at some point of time and use it in your answers. So some of the quotations also have been included in this PDF, where you can use it for different kinds of answers also. There are thousands of quotations. Well, we'll try to bring out a separate document for all the quotations at a place. But since this lessons of the great thinkers have some relevance through these quotations, that is why I have just mentioned all of them. You can just have a glance of it. So all of them are very relevant principles at this point of time. Finally, to end this session, I suggest that you go through this, like, how can I know who am I until I find out who I was? So understand your strength, weaknesses, channelize your energies towards the weaknesses in making them as your strength points. Go ahead with the journey. Happy learning. Hope you're enjoying with the series, and keep loving the series by liking, sharing and subscribing. Hope you have a great time learning with this lecture series on ethics, integrity, aptitude. Soon we are going to come with another new lecture in the portion of ethics, integrity, aptitude. Jai Hind.